Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different by reacting to the brand new Walpurgis trailer for very obvious reasons, of course. Unfortunately, this isn't my original initial reaction because I was far too excited to wait and record myself. But rest assured that I was absolutely giggling and kicking my feet like a little schoolgirl the entire time while I was watching it. Now though, I basically just want to watch it with you guys and basically break down whatever I feel like talking about, so let's get right into it, I guess. God, it's so peak. The fact that she has voice lines now is just... Well, she's always had voice lines, it's just... Now she actually has a voice. I love it. There she is. My queen. I'm never taking this off, by the way. That's permanently on my account now. She's got very basic attacks. 2 coins, both skill 1 and 2, and then single coin, skill 3. Maybe 2 coins, skill 3, actually. And obviously, high attack weight. And right here, this is actually fairly interesting because when I first watched this, I saw this and I thought, oh, it's an attack that kills you after use, right? But then after rewatching, I realized, first of all, this isn't a corpse sprite because, as you can see right here, she's supporting herself with her arm, which you can't exactly do that when you're dead. And second of all, every identity uses the base sinner's corpse sprite. So even if she did die after using that attack, it wouldn't matter because it would use a different corpse sprite. She wouldn't be wearing the ego gear at this point, which means that this is actually a self-stagger. After using this attack, she staggers herself. At least that's my assumption. And obviously, this is coming directly off of the queen herself because in Lobotomy Corporation, she functioned exactly the same after doing this big attack. She entered a fatigue state where you could just wail on her for a couple of seconds before she teleported off somewhere else. But it's still pretty interesting because this is basically the very first attack that has a cooldown to it. There are a few others that sort of mimic this, like the first that comes to mind is Wild Hunt Heathcliff's his skill 3 kind of has a cooldown because you can only use it while on Dullahan, and every time you use it you get off Dullahan, so you have to waste at least 1 turn between using it, so that's technically a cooldown, but this is basically the first attack in the game that has a true cooldown to it. And then obviously you have her hysteric state, as I call it. It's basically exactly the same. My assumption is that it's literally identical to her normal state, but she's using negative coins instead of positive coins. And so she's probably... No, not probably. She does have... She does have some kind of mechanic going on where she's obviously keeping track of something. It might just be as simple as when she's in negative sanity, she enters her hysteric state. But I'm going to assume that she has some kind of special counter, which is determining how many of her allies have died. And after it passes 3, because that's the number that you need to kill in order to satisfy the queen in LobCorp, after more than 3 have died, she enters her hysteric state and basically becomes a negative coin identity and gets a bit of a power boost, apparently, with gaining more attack weight and such. So pretty cool. It's interesting. It's also interesting to note that Project Moon decided to basically turn her actually into the queen. Like, this doesn't really feel like the ego from the game, the ego gear from the game. It feels like she is the queen, which is definitely an interesting choice to make, but it also kind of makes sense considering Don Quixote literally is the queen, so obviously she would have the most synergy with the ego gear, and as such, be able to use it most effectively, and basically be most similar to the original abnormality associated with it. I guarantee you, if any other sinner was wearing this ego gear, they would not be able to do half the stuff that she's capable of doing, just because they're not as synergistic with it. But anyways, I love her. She's adorable. Look at her.
내게 남은 건 너를 처음으로 담당했다는 볼품없는 금지밖에 없는데 결국 선택받는 건 그쪽이야.
And then we have the less important but still pretty cool Night of Despair Rodion.
아니야. 이 에고 장비에 잠깐 젖어들어서 그렇게 보이는 거지.
I have never been the biggest fan of the Knight, to be honest. Like, she's cool, don't get me wrong. I like her style, but not the biggest fan. Also, this part right here, where obviously this is a clashable guard of some kind, where after she uses it, she gets impaled by her sword. That's basically taken directly from the abnormality, and like I said, I don't really know much about the Knight because I don't really care about her, but makes sense she would have such a mechanic. Even still, I was kind of under the assumption that this identity in particular would kind of revolve around protecting a specific individual, and as such, I had assumed that she would probably have an assist defense in her kit somewhere. And again, when I initially saw this, I assumed that's what this was, but upon rewatching, it's like she's not actually protecting anyone like Mao Faust was when they revealed the assist defense there, which makes me think it's just a regular clashable guard and not an assist defense, which is a bit of a missed opportunity in my opinion. She should absolutely revolve around protecting her allies, or at least one specific ally, you know? But it doesn't really seem like she's doing that.
그런 거지. 네 눈물로 펴려낸 거미. 그 수십 개의 칼날이.
She also seems to have a lot of conditionals that give her various buffs, but how those conditionals work or anything, I have no idea. I couldn't even begin to guess.
그게 기사야?
It might just be like some kind of charge. But yeah.
잘 됐네.
Cool identity, not as cool as the queen.
정리하고 다른 쪽 복도를 지원하기로 하자. 제가 보고서는 부탁할게. 나는 좀 쉬고 싶다.
I totally called this, by the way. The fact that we'd be fighting the Knight while aided by the queen. I said that in a post, like, when we first found out that it was going to be the queen. Absolutely called that. And of course, Tiferet as the main announcer. Well, I say main, but that's not true. There's a more important announcer. But anyways, Tiferet was obviously going to be one of the announcers because, you know, they're next in the line. We finished the upper floors, the upper layer, and now they're the first middle layer, obviously. So they're next. They were inevitable. And also, because they were inevitable, it was also kind of inevitable that we'd also get the magical girls, considering Tiferet is also the library floor person. I don't remember what they're called. For the magical girls. So it's like, getting the magical girls here were kind of inevitable. There was no other option, in my opinion. Exclusively because Tiferet was the next announcer. We had to get the magical girls. But of course, there's a better announcer. The best announcer. God, I love her so much. I'm never taking this off, ever. This is honestly better than the identity itself, I swear. Having the queen just basically scream in my ear every time I get staggered doing a solo run, it's gonna be so peak every time. I love it. You know, I love the fact, I do love the fact that we're we're getting the, hold on, let me get a better screen to pause on. There we go. I love the fact that we're doing this with the LobCorp version instead of the library version, because if it was the library version, you know, we'd just be fighting the queen, and yeah, that's kind of boring, but because it's the LobCorp version, we get specifically the helpful queen, and that means that she helps us. She's our teammate. We get to play with the queen. I love it. There can be two on the field at the same time. It's great. It's gonna be it's so, oh, I love it so much. I love her. And then the big main attack, Arcana Slave. The same exact dialogue that the queen herself says in LobCorp. Apparently it's a reference to some old anime that I don't know about, but... God, it's so hype. It's absolute cinema, man. Also, as you can see here, she's attacking hooligans, which is pretty interesting to note, because this attack is one that the queen only uses after she's been trying to suppress certain characters for at least around 30 seconds to a minute or so, which means that these hooligans were capable of surviving at least 30 seconds to a minute of being attacked by the queen before she even used this attack in the first place. Truly, they are built different. And then you give a buff to Rodion too, apparently. I have no idea what that could be. Maybe it's just a heal over time effect or something. And the corrosion is basically exactly the same. However, it also implies that, in a similar vein, how the hooligans survived up until she could use the first attack, it also implies that they survived the first Arcana Slave attack. Truly, these are the strongest hooligans of all time. That's all I'm saying. Hell, they probably even survived this, to be honest. God, it's so peak. I love it so much. I'm so excited.
아르카나를 처리하지 못한 나는 쓸모없는 존재야. 아니, 어쩌면 내가 선택받은 내가 아니었어서 내가 나섰더라면.
Absolute cinema. Absolute peak. What else can I even say? I love my queen.